Hello and welcome to Battle for the States, our special focus this evening on Telangana and the key factors that could determine the outcome in that state as it's all set to vote tomorrow. A conversation that was interrupted yesterday, but we're bringing that back on now. We've broken down 5 X factors that could decide which way this battle goes. We will discuss this with our special panel of guests. Joining me this evening, Ravikant Reddy, political editor of The Hindu. Balu Pulipaka, political editor of the Deccan Chronicle, will join us in a bit. My colleague Uma Sudhir joins us as well from Hyderabad. And the cephalogist in the midst of all us journalists on this panel, Sandeep Shastri as well. Let's go first to the big factor, the first big factor in the state's politics, and that is the persona of K. Chandrasekhar Rao, the chief minister, and as the BRS portrays it, the undisputed father of the state. That image is up for a strong challenge in these polls. Remember, since the formation of that state in 2014, the Congress had claimed it was Sonia Gandhi who was instrumental in carving out Telangana, but on the ground, since then the Congress party hasn't been able to fight the BRS on that claim. This election is perhaps the biggest test of that KCR image as the undisputed, undefeatable leader in his turf. How strong is it? And is that an X factor in these polls? My first question to the cephalogist on the panel this evening, Sandeep Shastri. 10 years after formation of the state, does emotion and the tumultuous history still matter, or will it boil down to work on the ground versus anti-incumbency and family rule allegations?
Veera, you have posed the most interesting and intricate challenge of Telangana. Is there anti-incumbency? Definitely so. Can the leadership of Chandrasekhar Rao offset that? Not necessarily. But then linked to that is, has the Congress done enough in terms of being able to challenge the BRS? I'm not sure whether enough has happened to get them to make up the deficit they have lost. So this is a very, very tough race. And the last few days of the campaign could make a difference. But undoubtedly, there is visible anti-incumbency. And the ruling party is banking on the charisma of its leader, whereas the Congress is seeking this comeback in this part of the state, this part of what was formerly Andhra Pradesh, and is hoping to reach the halfway point. But I think they have gained a momentum, but is it enough to cross the halfway mark and set back the BRS? I'm not too sure.
Right, you're not sure yet. Ravikant Reddy, I don't think anyone's sure there yet, Sandeep Shastri. Ravikant Reddy, and then to Uma Sudhir. Quickly, is the emotion still a relevant factor, or is it going to boil down to work on the ground and more objective issues?
Well, Telangana emotion is always there and will always be there. But the intensity of the emotion from 2014 to 2018 to 2023, it is diminishing definitely. The election may not be fought on just emotion, but I think it's on the persona of Mr. K. Chandrasekhar Rao, who is a very tall figure in Telangana, undisputedly. None can match him, on the in the personality or in the administrative capabilities, his experience. His opponent, Mr. Revant Reddy, is almost junior politically by almost 15 to 20 years. So that's a big, huge impact that will determine the election outcome. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be KCR versus KCR and KCR versus the people. Where the people want to vote for Mr. KCR, vote out for Mr. KCR more than voting for Congress or BJP. No doubt, definitely, Congress has made a huge impact. They've challenged the leadership of Mr. KCR and his chief minister position. And 2 terms of anti-incumbency, which the Congress has taken a little bit advantage. But this election is all about Mr. KCR. That's what I believe.
Elections all about his persona is what you feel. But Uma Sudhir, just touching upon the second factor as well that we are going to bring in and then integrate these two. As Ravi was pointing out, 10 years of anti-incumbency. Now, 10 years of one rule, and especially one family in power, can be quite powerful. Is this then that the counter force to the KCR image, or does the KCR image tower over that? Does this really matter as a dent to that KCR image?
So the world has moved on since 2014 and 2018, and so has the TRS. Remember that it has moved from Telangana Rashtra Samiti to the Bharat Rashtra Samiti, and KCR has said he is also moving on, in a sense, saying that he is moving on to the national stage. So yes, while when 2014 and 2018 it was still a very young state, the youngest state in the country, and what would happen to it was a question mark at that time. And yes, the BRS government from most people in the state would get good marks on that front, saying that they have moved forward in a very positive way, and they do acknowledge, the people of Telangana do acknowledge the role of the KCR's party and KCR as a leader in the development of Telangana, and for it to have the kind of stature that it does in the country. At this time, now the point will be whether we need only the same family to run on, continuing the legacy of what Telangana and the TRS has meant, or do we need to try a new figure now and a new experiment there? Because people also understand that they would like a proper democracy to function, which means that you need another party in power as well to act as a check and balance as well. And that's one reason I think the mood among the people now is to say that let's give the Congress a chance as well. So while we are talking about the momentum that the Congress has gathered, the wave that it has gathered, what we do understand is that you need more than a wave. You need a storm, you need a literal Andhi for this to happen, because they need to go from 21 seats, triple their number to go over 60. That means also their vote share, which was at about 29%
and in terms of vote
earlier,
shares
of course,
as well.
They were in alliance, but yes, from 29% they need to go up, because the BRS was, TRS at that time was at 47%. Realistically speaking, about 15% was the difference. So that also they need to come along with bringing in the vote share. And of course, the BJP, with its high-pitched campaign, I must say in the last 7 days or 10 days, their graph has certainly gone up, and they are going to make it a multi-cornered contest in at least 25 to 30 seats. So that kind of confuses the picture.
Right, that's three-cornered battle, as you're pointing out. That will be another factor which we'll come to. But first, sticking with anti-incumbency, Uma, I'm going across to Balu. Balu, when we talk of anti-incumbency, one of the sense that most observers get is that there is an urban versus rural divide. You have about 80 seats which are classified rural in your state, in Telangana, and then about 30 seats which are classified as strong urban seats, a little more than that. Do you see that divide being a crucial factor in these elections?
Yes, the anti-incumbency is mostly being seen in rural areas. That is where most of the problems are for the BRS. The real challenge for the BRS is not just about the chief minister, it's more about the MLAs, what they've been doing. The intelligence reports, some of those reports one gets to see or read about, also point to the same thing. There is intense anger against the BRS MLAs. Not just because what they have not done for the people, but also because what they believe, what people believe is the attitude that they have now owned the government. The problem is, MLAs don't own the government. No party owns the government. They're only custodians of the government. And I think BRS has lost its way. Many of its MLAs have lost their way on that count. So yes, there is the anti-incumbency, and the anti-incumbency is mostly in rural constituencies.
Right, I'm going to get Ravi quickly before I move to the third X factor. Ravi, that point that Balu was making, that look, it's not just about KCR, right? There is local level anti-incumbencies, especially when you have the kind of numbers that you had. 88 first in 2018, and then so many defections over, you had 100 plus. There tends to be a sense of arrogance amongst local level MLAs. Now that's also a problem that the BRS may have to contend with, if I may call it a problem of plenty that's carried over from 2018.
Well, I think that is the main problem which BRS faces. There's not much anti-incumbency factor against Mr. KCR as a person, as a chief minister, but anti-incumbency against the candidates. You should look at the majority of candidates who are MLAs from the BRS are either first generation MLAs or who have just come into politics. So they were nowhere in 2014, and within 10 years the kind of arrogance they have gained and arrogance they are showing within their constituencies, the kind of wealth which people perceive they have amassed is something which is not being digested. And mostly I think it is the arrogance level, because they have started behaving as if it is their fiefdom, their local constituency. And one of the major factors I think was Mr. KCR giving a leeway to the appointment of police officers. He left it to the choice of the local MLAs, and the entire police system was in the control of BRS. I think that really angered people in the rural areas, because the MLAs were not in control of the party. There was no, though Mr. KCR is a tall figure, his son Mr. KTR has a lot of control over the party, but somehow they missed that connect with the MLAs who are actually they created themselves a new fiefdom, a new area kings they have become. I think that factor maybe BRS has either not really seen or ignored it conveniently, seeing that they are ultimately they are going to win the party and work for us.
Okay.
So I think that is one of the major factors which anti-incumbency, when we talk about anti-incumbency, the anti-incumbency is against the local MLAs more than the governance of the BRS party led by Mr. Chandrasekhar Rao.
Right. Uma, quickly, you've been interacting with a host of BRS leaders, including the top. What's the sense that you're picking him? Are they aware of what's happening? Do they believe, or do they feel that no? Look, they're not even aware. They're not willing to agree that there is that kind of local level anti-incumbency.
The BRS is very aware of what's happening for sure, because they have their ears to the ground, and they were in fact the first to get off on this campaigning mode, and they announced their candidates in August itself, and they fought the rebel candidates there itself. But this kind of an anti-incumbency against the MLA is also something that they had factored into, because what I must point out is that this MLA-centric structure of this party is something that is built into the structure of the party. Unlike, say, a DMK, which has a party cadre and a party structure which is there in each one of the districts in, say, Tamil Nadu, in the BRS and in Telangana, they chose a different model, which is in fact similar to a Bahujan Samaj Party kind of a model, where in fact it's an MLA-centric operation in each of the constituencies. They decided to invest in the MLA for the party work as well, and as well as to get the works for the people done as well. So that became the one-point person to who the people went. So people who are happy with the BRS are going to be rewarding them. But if they are unhappy that they have not got a 2 BHK, or they were denied the new pensions for the last 4 years, from 2018 onwards, they have not added to the pension numbers. Otherwise, pensioners is someone who are happy with the BRS. But what I'm saying is that anti-incumbency certainly adds on, and that turned into an anger for the last few years, I would think, because 2018, we saw more than 30 seats in which they won by a margin of about 20%. That's a huge margin that we are talking about. But that certainly is something that's going to be challenged in this particular election, because the disappointment now is going to turn into anger. It's no longer hope that in the next term I'm going to get it. I didn't get it 2 terms. I'll probably not get it now.
Right. Right. Will voter fatigue also matter? Those are questions that we will raise and perhaps watch out for as we analyze post the results. But I'm now moving to the third factor. And I think uniformly most agree that this could also be a potential X factor, which is the minority vote in that state. The AIMIM's decision to contest only 9 seats, the Congress's allegation that the BRS, BJP and AIMIM are together, and a counter allegation by the BJP and the BRS against the Congress, all aimed at trying to garner the minority vote. Remember, the BRS has a huge chunk of that minority vote in 2018. My question to you, Balu, is that going to be a crucial factor, whether the Congress can break in to that minority vote?
The fear of BRS is that Congress has cracked the minority vote. And like we had spoken earlier in one of the earlier shows, see, there are about 49 constituencies where minorities have a significant number of votes. And BRS has been trying, they've been wooing the minorities, holding different meetings and promising various things. And they also have a very strong ally in MIM, which has been campaigning for the BRS. saying vote for BRS wherever MIM does not contest. And that is a serious problem there, because we are looking at anywhere between 15 to 25,000 votes. Even if they are split, let's say 50-50, we are talking about 7,000 to 12,000 to 13,000 votes going either way, is getting split. So it is a serious problem for
so that's an important
the
factor.
BRS.
That's an important factor that you are saying is pointing out. Sandeep Shastri, quickly to you before I go to Uma and Ravi.
Veera, I think both the points made are very important. The minority vote is very critical to the BRS, and we have noticed in other states that when Congress is not the main challenger to the BJP, and there is a third party which is also challenging the BJP, there is a chance of the minority vote moving away from the Congress to the third party, which is also prominent in the race. And I think that's a factor we will necessarily need to keep in mind. And quickly, Veera, a second point here is, I think everybody tomorrow will look to the voter turnout, especially in the different regions. Where is the voter turnout higher? What are its implications? There is no empirical evidence to show that higher voter turnout helps either the ruling party or the opposition. But in this particular election, I think a significant rise in voter turnout could be a matter of alarm for the ruling party. In this, but I'm making this point in the particular context of this election, that a higher voter turnout could very much be a reflection of a stronger anti-incumbency vote, because the committed votes for all sides would necessarily come to their parties, and a higher voter turnout basically would imply that there has been a strong sentiment against the government, and that's what I will be looking out for tomorrow.
Right, Uma Sudhir, quickly on the minority vote and the Congress's efforts to try and break into it. It has to achieve that if it wants to make any dent on the BRS's vote.
Yes, indeed. We must look at this way, that about 61% of the minority vote is in the rural areas and about 38-39% is in the urban areas. Let's presume that most of that is in Hyderabad, which is the case. And that vote does go to the MIM. So that is in pocket. But the rest of the vote is what we are talking about. And yes, the BRS and my own travels would say that the perception certainly has gained ground that the BRS and the BJP could be having tacit understanding, something that the narrative that the Congress has also been pushing. And therefore, I did find many people talking about this issue, that they would probably now vote for the Congress. Many of the people who belong to the minority community were talking about it, and that is a concern for the ruling party certainly. And the other point about what Mr. Shastri made about higher voter turnout, I must point out that the BRS and the BJP are largely more stronger in the urban pockets, and the Congress, that kind of a branding has also worked for the Congress, saying that it is more a rural party, something that goes with the poorer sections, and therefore a larger turnout always expected in rural areas compared to urban areas. If the urban electorate comes out and votes, it will probably favor the BRS, but if the rural areas you get higher turnout, then certainly I would think it's something that's advantageous for the Congress party.
Right. As I move to as I get Ravi, I want to also introduce the next X factor that we're talking about, which is the backward caste factor. And from a national point of view, in the midst of the caste census push and the BJP's push in Telangana of a backward classes chief minister, it is an extremely interesting aspect of this. Let's not forget that this entire region, the Telangana region, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ravi, was once a TDP stronghold, which then turns into a BRS stronghold. The Congress wasn't always very strong amongst this particular area and amongst the backward castes. Will that be a factor in these elections? And if the BJP rises, as Uma is pointing out, who is it going to hurt more?
Well, let me make a point on the minority vote, Veera. First thing, the BRS got the maximum minority vote in the 2018. So they can't go beyond this now. So whatever they're looking at minority vote is going to be, helpful for the Congress now, because a lot of people are coming back. There are discussion within the minority groups, religious organizations, and some of them have actually openly come out and said, we are going to support Congress. So BRS cannot gain the minority vote from compared to 2018. They are only going to lose from 2018. So that would be some advantage for Congress as far as minority vote is concerned. Now, BC factor, the backward classes, which are the major group in Telangana, the backward classes were always with the Telugu Desam party ever since it was formed in 1983, because that gave them the political positions, the political life for a lot of BC caste, because the Congress was always considered to be an upper, dominated by the Reddy community, which is an upper caste community. So the Telugu Desam party gave them that opportunity, but once the Telangana state was formed, a lot of that moved to BRS, because and if you look at the BRS party now, nearly 60 to 70% of leaders, as well as from various levels, from the state level to the Tehsil level, village level, belong to the TDP, old TDP guys, including the Chief Minister himself. So that factor, 2014 and 18, actually played a huge role in BRS gaining. They were also very fresh with the agitation mood. Obviously, the backward caste were very active in that mood. In the agitation, because they thought that they would get some kind of political positions and some political life out there, and Mr. Chandrasekhar has given some kind of positions, particularly not if not the MLAs, but at the lower level, various corporations and all. He has encouraged the backward class community to keep them with him. In the meanwhile, in that period, Congress actually lost that group, because there's no big leader, a big face of backward caste community which can actually attract the vote. And that's what the BJP has played on. Now, BJP, by bringing in Mr. Bandi Sanjay as a state chief, it really gave them an opportunity to the backward class communities. But once he was removed, the parties fell, rather, the interest fell. But now, with the announcement of the backward class chief minister, BJP might gain, but the problem is, the announcement came too late. Had it been 6 months ago, or 8
that's
months
a factor
ago,
we've discussed, and I think Uma has a point to make quickly, Uma, before I introduce the fifth X factor.
Okay, the BJP is not really looking only at 2023 when it introduced this OBC CM into this debate, because obviously the caste census and what the Congress was talking about at the national level, that's what they had in mind, and they are looking at to invest in this constituency, because that's a constituency that is not taken by any other party. Like Ravi was mentioning, the Congress has been largely seen as a Reddy party, and if the BRS is seen as a Velama party, OBC is 52% of the population, and they know that this is a constituency that they can invest in, whether it is 2024 or even in the future.
Right, that's an important point. That's an important point that you make there, Uma. We have just 2.5 minutes left on the show, and I'm just going to introduce the last factor, the Karnataka factor. That's become a part of discussions across the board in your state, whether it is an exchange between the Chief Minister, K.T. Ramarao, and the Karnataka politicians over development. I just want to quickly go through a round. We have very limited time, 20 seconds literally each. Starting with you, Uma, does the Karnataka factor played out? Has it really changed things for the Congress, at least psychologically? Quickly, 20 seconds.
Absolutely. After the victory in Karnataka is when the momentum to the Congress here picked up. So that is something that we have to acknowledge. The second factor is, yes, it was possible that the resources from Karnataka is what had given this Congress the opportunity to fight this election in full. I must say that they have pulled all stops in fighting this particular election. They have given it all they have, whether it's Priyanka Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, or the local leadership. We didn't see this kind of a fight earlier, and therefore the Karnataka factor very much there. And the guarantees there is something that seems to be haunting the government here. And that's the reason why, even the advertisements of the government of Karnataka here have been, complained about, and notices being sent to the government quickly as well, because yes, Karnataka is going to be a big factor.
2 points. I think it's after the Karnataka victory that the Congress realized that maybe we can and do something in Telangana. I wish they had realized that much before Karnataka results. They would have had more time to do what they wanted to do. And secondly, I think the fact that the guarantees were responsible for Congress doing well in Karnataka is something that has attracted not just the Congress in its Telangana campaign, but other parties also. I think parties are focusing on welfare, and I think this is the Karnataka effect, not just on boosting the Congress, but in defining in some ways the nature of the campaign in the state.
Right, defining some ways in the nature of the campaign in the state. But for the moment, it's for the voters to decide and come out and vote. Hopefully that urban apathy will be shed in Hyderabad. I'm sorry, Ravi and Balu. I wish we had more time, but we simply are out of time. We'll keep this conversation going. Come back to you both tomorrow as well as on the 3rd of December. That's all we have time for on the battle for the states this evening. The news continues here on NDTV.